He woke with a gasp, heart pounding, cold sweat clung to him. His mind raced, a whirlwind of half-remembered dreams. He was unsure where he was. Sitting up, he found himself in his own bed, familiar yet strangely distant. This is my room, he thought. But how? He stumbled to the bathroom, flicking on the light. The man in the mirror stared back, a stranger with haunted eyes. His reflection mimicked his movements, a chilling echo of a life he couldn't grasp. Panic welled up, a scream trapped in his throat. Who am I? He made his way downstairs, drawn by the aroma of coffee. His wife sat at the kitchen table, her back to him. Relief washed over him. Honey, His voice faltered. She didn't react. He stepped closer, a growing sense of unease settling in his gut. Are you all right? She turned, her face blank. Empty. Do I know you? She asked, her voice devoid of warmth or recognition. The words hit him like a physical blow, stealing his breath and leaving him reeling in a sea of confusion and terror. He rushed out, desperate to find someone, anyone who knew him. The streets were bustling with life, people going about their day, oblivious to his growing panic. He stopped a passerby, a young woman with headphones. Excuse me, I need help, he pleaded, his voice strained. She glanced at him, her expression wary. Leave me alone, she muttered, hurrying away. He tried again, this time an elderly man walking his dog. The result was the same. Blank stares, dismissive shrugs. He was a ghost, invisible in a world that had forgotten him. He reached his office building, a towering structure of glass and steel. He pushed through the revolving doors, hoping for a familiar face, a shred of recognition. But the receptionist, his colleagues, even his boss, they all looked at him with the same unsettling unfamiliarity. Each interaction was a hammer blow to his sanity. The world he knew, the life he built, crumbled around him. He was trapped in a nightmare, a horrifying reality where his existence had been erased. The fear was a living thing now, coiling around him, squeezing the air from his lungs. Days turned into nights, each one blurring into the next, a terrifying cycle of confusion and fear. He wandered the streets, a ghost haunting his own life. Sleep offered no escape, his dreams filled with fragmented memories and faceless figures whispering his name. He returned to his house, a hollow shell that echoed with the ghosts of laughter and shared moments. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at framed photographs on the nightstand. His wedding day, vacations with friends, a lifetime of memories that felt like scenes from someone else's life. He picked up his phone, scrolling through contacts, desperate to find a single familiar name. But they were all gone, replaced by names he didn't recognize. He dialed his own number, praying for a voice, a connection, anything to break through the suffocating silence. The ringing tone echoed in his ear, mocking his desperation. He hung up, the silence in the room deafening. He was utterly alone, adrift in a world that had no memory of him, no place for him. Despair threatened to consume him, the weight of his isolation crushing. Section 4. Desperate measures. Driven to the brink, he sought answers in the cold, sterile environment of a hospital. The doctor, a young man with a kind face, listened patiently to his disjointed story. He ran tests, scanned his brain, searching for an explanation, a cure for his impossible amnesia. But the results were inconclusive. Physically he was fine. Mentally, there was something else, something they couldn't explain. I don't understand, the doctor admitted, his brow furrowed with concern. There's no medical reason for this. He left the hospital, the weight of his invisible illness heavier than ever. He was a medical anomaly, a glitch in the system. He wandered aimlessly, the city lights blurring into streaks of color. He was lost, adrift in a sea of faces, each one a reminder of his terrifying solitude. Then, a flicker of hope, a glint of recognition in the eyes of a homeless man huddled in a doorway. He approached cautiously, his heart pounding. "Excuse me," he began, his voice hoarse with disuse. "Do you recognize me?" The man looked up, his eyes holding a strange intensity. He smiled, a chilling, knowing grin that sent shivers down his spine. "We've been expecting you," he rasped, his voice a dry whisper. He reached out, his hand gnarled and calloused. Section 5. A glimmer of recognition? He recoiled instinctively, fear washing over him in a cold wave. The man's words sent a jolt of terror through him. "Expecting me? What do you mean?" he stammered, his voice trembling. The man's smile widened, revealing teeth stained brown and crooked. "You'll see," he chuckled, his eyes gleaming with an unsettling light. He gestured towards the shadows behind him, a dark alleyway that seemed to pulsate with unseen life. "They're waiting for you." He felt a pull, an invisible force drawing him towards the darkness. He fought against it, his mind screaming at him to run, but his body wouldn't obey. He took a step back, then another, but the pull was too strong. He was being drawn towards the shadows, towards the unknown, and a terrifying certainty settled in his gut. This wasn't the end, it was only the beginning. As he disappeared into the darkness, the homeless man's laughter echoed in his ears, a chilling reminder of the nightmare he couldn't escape. And in the depths of his terror, a single question burned. Was this oblivion, or was he about to remember something far worse?